it's Jenna from scribblinggrace.com. Today I have a new video for you that includes this free printable. So we're going to be doing an olive branch. This is something I've been wanting to do for the longest time, and I finally got around to doing it. So I'm just cutting off the edge of my printable to be able to fit it where I want on my Bible page so that it'll fit in the margins. And you can tape your page to the printable if you need to make sure it doesn't move around. I'm just kind of gonna go for it. So I love having traceable printables like this so that I don't have to worry about freehanding something. And I know that a lot of you guys who watch my channel also really appreciate not having to freehand things, because freehanding is pretty tricky. So this way we can kind of just use the printable as like a coloring sheet. So I'm going to use watercolors, but you could totally do this with colored pencils or acrylic paints as well. And I have a small round paintbrush, and I'm just going to use my paint to basically color in my guide. As you can see the faint outline underneath the page, my Bible page. So I don't have to do anything like penciling it or anything like that. If it is harder for you to see, you can go over the printable itself with maybe some Sharpie, or to make those lines behind the page darker. Or you could, of course, add in, you pencil over it before you start painting. Just make sure you keep those pencil marks really light. And I'm just taking some brown watercolor paint and my small round paintbrush, and I'm just slowly filling in those lines of the branch first. I like to start with the branch, and then we'll add the leaves, and then we'll add the olives as well. I'm not worrying too much about how much water and how much paint I'm using. You want to make sure that you're not using too much water, because then it's a lot harder to get the nice thin lines. So if you try to use just enough water to get the paint onto the page, but not so much that you have a whole ton of wetness, that'll help give you the nice thin lines that you might need. I'm also, at the end, you'll see that I'm going to go over my painting here, or I'm going to outline my painting with a Micron pen. So that may be another option if you have a hard time seeing those guidelines underneath the page. You can use a waterproof pen before you start if you want. So Micron pen or Tombow Fudenosuke are both waterproof, so you can use that and outline your painting, and then directly onto the Bible page, and then paint inside those lines if that's more helpful for you. That's of course assuming that you want to see those lines on the finished page. You don't have to outline them like I'm going to do. The great thing about art is that you can totally make this your own. So I'm using an olive green watercolor paint from my Kuretake Gansai Tambi watercolor set, which I felt like was just perfect. It makes it easy. I don't have to mix any colors or anything, but you can totally use whatever kind of greens you want, whatever browns, make this your own. And again, you don't have to use watercolors either. I also forgot to mention that where you can get this free printable. You can get it on my blog. I'm not doing blog posts for all of my videos nowadays, but occasionally I'm going to, and today I did. So head on over to my blog at scribblinggrace.com/olivebranch, and you can download the free printable for free. There's no sign-ups or anything necessary. I'll put that link in the description below, and I'll also put all the links to the supplies I used in the description as well. So to do these leaves, you can see that I'm making that brush work for me. So I'm starting at the tip of my branch without applying any pressure, and then as I move outward, I'm going to apply pressure to my brush, which gives that wider stroke, and then I'm going to release that pressure or try to pick it up from my paper, and that will give me that nice thin tip. If that's too tricky for you, you can totally just use the tip of your paintbrush and just color it in just like you would, kind of like a marker, just like as we did with the branch. So now I have all my leaves painted, and now I'm going to go ahead and add the olives. And I'm going to use the same olive green that I used for my leaves, but I'm going to make it really pigmented. So you can see that this olive is a lot darker than the leaves. So that means that I'm using less water and more of the paint. So basically, as I was painting the leaves, I would kind of just dip my pen in and grab a little bit of the paint. I didn't worry too much about it. You can see that I have some darker leaves and some lighter leaves. I think that that adds a lot of interest to it. But to do these olives, I just barely wet my brush and then I really scrubbed it into that paint. So then it gets me that really nice dark rich color that's almost like the paint straight out of the tub, or, you know, the paint as it is, you know. And then I'm also adding just a little bit of brown to kind of deepen up those olives as well. So that makes them stand out a little bit more. And that's it for the painting of this page. I'm dabbing up some of the darker spots. You can see I go over the text a little bit on this page, but I can still read it all because I always make sure not to do like the really dark olives over the text where I wouldn't be able to read it. So that's a personal decision. I am going to add my lettering. I decided not to go over my branch because I wanted to be able to see the whole branch. I didn't want the lettering to distract from it. And so I just used that top spot on the page and I'm just writing with my small Micron pen, in my normal cursive handwriting, kind of messy up at the top. And this also reminds me to tell you the verse that I'm working on. So this is Psalm 52 verses 8 through 9, which says, "But I am like a green olive tree in the house of God. I trust in the steadfast love of God forever and ever. I will thank you forever because you have done it. I will wait for your name, for it is good in the presence of the godly." So I just really love that verse. I thought it was a great one to do a olive branch on. So now I am doing that outlining like I told you I was going to do. So I used, I believe, a 03 sized Micron pen to do my lettering up at the top, and then I switched to this even smaller Micron pen. This is a 005, so it's super thin line, which isn't all that important. You could totally do the same thing with a thicker Micron as well if that's all you have on hand. I just buy my Microns in the packs, so they have the multi-sized packs, and you can find those different sizes in there. So I already had them all on hand. So again, you can see I'm just kind of outlining basically where my printable was. So again, you could totally do this in the beginning instead of the end. And I'm doing it kind of messy, so I'm kind of going over all my lines twice and not worrying too much about them being perfectly aligned. So it kind of gives me this little messy sketched look, I guess. As you can see, just going over all the outsides of my leaves and my branch and the olives. And I felt like it really did kind of just give it that finishing touch. But I also think it looked really pretty without the lines as well. So that is totally up to you. It only took me a few more minutes to add these lines, and I was really happy with the finished product. So I'm going to, that's pretty much it for my page. I'm going to show you the backside in a little bit, and you'll see that there is no bleed through. I got a little bit of shadowing. You can see kind of the shadow of the paint on the back side of the page, but once I do something on that other side, you'll never notice it. And there's no actual bleed through. So again, you can find the link to the printable for free in the description below, scribblinggrace.com/olivebranch. And you can find all the links to the supplies that I used for this page, as well as other helpful tutorials that you may like, and all that fun stuff. So be sure to check that out. There's the backside that I was just talking about. All right, I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. All right, much love, many blessings. Bye.